Hello and welcome. My name is Tom Shima. Over the course of 2026, I'm playing the game Persona 3 Reload. Only I'm trying something a little different. I'm going to match the pace of the game. That's right, I'm playing this game one real day at a time. Please enjoy this different take on the game in a series I'm calling Persona a Day. Hello and welcome. My name is Tom Shima, and today is Friday, May 22nd. So as I like to do, I will start by talking about what we did yesterday. This catches us all up and gets us into today fully ready to see what is in store. From there, we'll move on to today's gameplay session and see where that takes us. And then we'll come back here to the desk and we'll talk about it a bit. For anyone watching on YouTube, I will have timestamps in the description in case you want to jump to a specific section. I do also want to make everyone aware that this is a full playthrough of the game, so we will be encountering spoilers. Please be aware of that. So let's start by looking back at what we did on Thursday the 21st. Thursday was our fourth day of exams already. This entire week has been midterm exam week in school, and that's dominated almost literally the entirety of our playthrough this week, and yesterday was no different. We continued on as another day of tests happened, much like all the others. The day started in class, and for all intents and purposes it ended there as well, but we'll get into that a little bit more later. As it did, we were sitting in front of our exam paper answering questions, and aside from Monday, every day I've had a chance to answer a question myself, and it's been really cool because those have been questions that have come up in our classroom sessions already. So it's been that chance to prove I was paying attention or that I can remember things that we talked about. And the fact that these questions did come up literal weeks ago, it really helps kind of test that long-term memory and how much I actually was paying attention. And so far, I've been fortunate that I've remembered the answers. I hope I can keep that going as we further into exams here. Yesterday's question specifically, that dealt with the part of a train that, well, it gave us the name this time around. It was the pantograph. It asked me in yesterday's question what the purpose of the pantograph was. And I had gotten that question wrong in class about a month ago now. Maybe not quite that long ago, but long enough ago that it felt like a while ago. Either way, it showed me a picture of said diagram of the apparatus, and it asked me what the name of that was that generates electricity for trains. And I had incorrectly labeled it as the master controller at the time, so I wasn't right back in class. But yesterday during exams, that same question came up, worded slightly differently, and it gave me the name of the device and asked me what its purpose is. So it asked me, what does the pantograph do for a train? Or what does it generate, I think was the specific question. And at that point, that was that applied remembering and learning of the piece that generates electricity for the train. So electricity was one of the options. I was able to confidently select that, and the character felt good about that answer as well. So it's just really rewarding to get to those points and see that academic progress paying off, and feeling it myself since I was actually the one being put on the spot there with a question. So I answered that question correctly in class. Character felt good about that. I felt good about that, and the day went on as it did. As far as the playthrough portion went, that was actually where the day ended. So what we've been doing for the rest of the week up to this point, and we'll continue to do, is just kind of assigning our own meaning to the rest of the day. Because like I've been saying, it's a full 24-hour day, even if the game didn't show us that much of it. So that had been our morning exam portion. So that probably took us to lunch in the middle of the day where we got to talk to our friends and just kind of compare notes on how we think the morning went or what kind of questions we think we'll see in the afternoon. We made it through our afternoon exams, presumably unremarkably, since nothing was called out to us. There have been no extracurriculars running this week, so there hasn't been a chance to get with the track team or the student council or anything like that. So that pretty much just takes us back to the dorm in the afternoon and evening. And so as I've done every evening, I like the idea of how much study session time we had in the past weekend to prepare for the exams. So I've just kind of been making up my own stories for how we spent the remaining evenings this week. Each day I'd figured there'd been some different combination of people somewhere in the dorm that we were able to study with. And so yesterday I figured maybe when we got back to the dorm, perhaps Mitsuru was at the table doing her own review. And maybe she saw us come in and, motioned us over and said, hey, Tom, come over here. If you have any interest in studying, I'm available tonight. So maybe as she was reviewing, I was able to get my materials out and look over the tests we have on Friday and Saturday and, maybe review her notes again, since she shared some of those notes with me back probably about a week ago now when we were studying together, since I'd missed some time in April during my recovery. Maybe that just gave me a chance to double-check my knowledge and ask her some questions then. And her notes were really easy to follow and to understand, so any topics I wasn't sure about, I'm sure it was easier to just put in better context having that potential time with her. So, like I say, we didn't see any of this. This is all just kind of made-up story, so we're not going to see any statistical progress in academics or anything from that, but I just like to think that we did more than just do exams yesterday. And I'm sure with Mitsuru being in charge of our hypothetical study session, she didn't let it go too late into the night, so we were able to get to bed at a good hour and get a full night of sleep and take us into today fully rested for another day of exams on Friday. So with all those stories and plans aside, let's take it into Friday and see where today's gameplay takes us. Okay, and as we've been doing, we're actually jumping back into the end of yesterday's playthrough. This was after I'd answered the question correctly on Thursday. Since the day transitioned right from there to the next day, this was just the easiest place to bring us back. So we'll go from there, and we'll move pretty directly into today. You just enjoy the music the whole time, too. So yes, here we are on Friday the 22nd, just like we are in real life. The scene doesn't look that much different either. We're still working away on our exams. All right, and I've said it every day, but just to kind of clarify again, I'm not coming into this with any sort of guides or walkthroughs or anything like that. Yes, I have played the game before, but it's been enough time that a lot of the details have escaped me, and I'm taking it as naturally as it comes. So whatever question comes up here, I've got my fingers crossed on it, but just like a real exam, I won't know it until I see it. And whatever answer I give, that's the answer we're sticking with. I'm not going to go back and change my answers or anything. That was the day one promise for this entire playthrough. Our choices are ours to make, and the consequences that come with them are ours to experience. So I will do my best, but no guarantees here. All right, the question seems familiar. During which historical period were middens commonly used? I remember the concept of middens. It was from an older era. But, this one's gonna, I have less memory to base this one off of. History is not my strongest suit, particularly Japanese history. Not that I would pick any specific section of history as an actual strong suit of mine, but... So our choices here are Jomon, Yayoi, Kofun, or Asuka. Ah. I know I'm not just supposed to sit here silently, so I'll try to talk my thoughts out here. It's not going to do a whole lot of good because my limited understanding, my first thought is that these are in chronological order of their eras, but even that might be kind of an assumption on my part. I remember the question that came up in class dealt with middens. That was the answer. So I knew that side of it, but the actual period, not so much. So this is actually kind of like the train question the other day, in that they've taken a topic we covered and reframed it to approach it from a different angle, which unfortunately today kind of is working against me. And maybe this is a tangent that I'm misremembering, but I keep seeing Jomon here, and if I'm remembering correctly, the game Animal Crossing, I remember I think there was like Jomon pottery. That was like some decorative item that existed. I could be totally off base there, but I see that and that's where my brain kind of goes. But well, I believe this was it was a historical period as the question says, but I thought it was an older one. And if these are in order, like I'm hypothesizing they are, Jomon, if I'm true, and that thought would be the oldest, all the way up to Asuka is the newest. But I guess there's no real reason to say that it was definitely the oldest. It could have been any of these at this point. But this happens on tests too, doesn't it? You get these questions and it's like, well, I've got to pick something. For good or bad. You can't just leave a question blank. Okay, you could, but you're definitely going to be wrong if you do that. So, I might as well take that 1 and 4 here. Yeah, I don't want to waste your time here as I stare at a test, so... I'm going to go with Jomon. I think it's the oldest. It has a connection in my brain that may or not be actually true. And I've got a 1 and 4 at this point. It's not the best approach to an exam, and I don't feel proud of making a choice that way, but I've got to pick something, right? I've taken real tests with the same logic, and yeah, I feel just as unproud of that choice, but it's the choice that's got to be made. So I'm going to say Jomon. I'm glad he has a feeling that's the right answer, because I really didn't feel that way when I picked it. If that's actually the right answer, that would be huge. Wow. Well, I might have gotten lucky there. All right. And just like that, we are at the end of another day. So I will take us back to the desk and we will finish up talking about today. Okay, so here we are back at the desk. That is the end of Friday the 22nd in-game already. It was another quick day. It did give me a little bit of chance to talk to you guys for a couple more minutes than the last couple days of exams, but still, by far, another blink and you miss it kind of day. And as confident as I felt with the last few exam days, I feel like a lot more lucky than confident today. I think I picked the correct answer based on the game's dialogue, but there was not any part of me, the player, that felt confident in that choice. That was basically just a 1 in 4. And I mean, if that worked, I'm not going to argue with results, but I'm also not going to say, oh yes, I knew that one. It was obviously Jomon. No. If it worked, I'm happy and I'm lucky. But looking back at the day, so we got a good early start to school. We had that full night of sleep to get ready for it. The character studied. Maybe he saw something about Jomon middens, and that clarified it in his brain, and maybe that's how he knew it. Or maybe he just flipped a coin in his head and it came up on A there. But either way, we got to the test and we made our way through it somehow, feeling good by the end of it, which is always rewarding. Probably took us into lunch where there was that sigh of relief talking to a friend. It's like, hey, which era were the middens coming from? And if anybody else said Jomon, that would have been that sigh of relief from my character. And it's like, good. Oh, I got lucky there. And hopefully we were able to ride that wave of luck into the afternoon tests as well. And once again, there were no evening or after school extracurriculars, anything like that. So anything here is, stuff the game hasn't shown us. But I'm sure we got back to the dorm again, probably, again, just that feeling of relief on getting through Friday and getting almost to the end of exams. We've just got one more day ahead of us now. Just have to make it through tomorrow. So after all this build-up, this entire week of exams, the end is finally in sight for us. And how about this? I mean, I've been, making up a how we spent our evening every day this week anyway. Let's say that last night was the big culmination of it all. We're down to one more day of exams, so maybe everybody was focused on studying again. Maybe we all got around the big table again there, all pulled our books out, looked at the last topics for Friday, and just wanted to nail those as perfectly as we could. Junpei was there keeping it light, Mitsuru was there to keep us focused, Yukari's there doing her best to kind of mediate between everything, Akihiko's kind of multitasking and training whatever he can, and I'll just be silently off to the side, chiming in here and there. But we just did that final bit of review as an entire team, got to bed at a good hour, and hopefully we can come into Saturday tomorrow and just finish as strong as possible and breathe that sigh of relief once those exams are done. So with that, we have reached the end of Friday, May 22nd. It seemed like a positive day of exams, if not a lucky one, but either way, we got through it, and I feel good about that. I want to thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Tom Shima. I stream this Persona A Day series every day, live at 12:30 Eastern Time. So anytime you want to join live, I would love to have you. I also upload each day's play to YouTube, so if you want to watch the current day or any previous day, I've got a playlist available there. And I hope you all have a wonderful Friday, that your week is finishing off on a good solid note, and that you can come into the weekend feeling like you can enjoy the time and get some things done that you want to get done. But yes, I have been Tom Shima. It's been great having you here today, and I hope to see you again. Thank you, and goodbye. With that, we've reached the end of the day. Please look forward to next time to see where the game goes from here. This journey is being streamed live on my Twitch channel if you'd like to be there in person for the experience. Links and schedule details can be found in the description. I'll keep uploading each day's session to this channel so you can keep watching here. Once again, I'm Tom Shima. Thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you again as I continue the series, Persona A Day. What will tomorrow bring?